Today we're going to talk about how to use your oil pastels and use 3 different techniques in your sketchbook. So this is going to be practice for your actual project because you're going to be using a combination of these techniques in your work. So next to me I have all of my oil pastels, and what's important to know about oil pastels is that they can easily break, yes. They are made with oil, so that means that it's really difficult for them to come out of clothes. They're not easily erased, so you've got to be very careful when you're using them. And it's really important that you clean up your workspace once you are finished working with oil pastels because it can sometimes leave a residue behind. So I recommend wiping your space down or putting a placemat down underneath your work when you're using this material. The first technique that we're going to use is called scumbling, and this is what we are actually going to be using in the sky of our project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab 3 colors that go from kind of a lighter hue, and remember a hue is a color, to a darker hue. So I'm going to be using pink, red, and violet. Scumbling is really just moving your oil pastel, or really any drawing tool, in a circular motion. So I'm going to create a layer of pink. I'm going to create a layer of red and do the same thing. And I'm kind of overlapping these two just so that they blend together more. I may need to go back with more pink to do the same thing to make it really kind of less like stripy and more blended. So my scumbling, like I said, just involves using those swirls. And like I said, I might go back with my pink. Yeah, that's helping a lot. And it just helps blend your colors out a little bit more. So with this technique, you might have a little bit of white space left behind. The last color I'll go in with is my violet. And I'm really trying to overlap my colors so that they blend with one another. It's gonna make this look a little bit better and more finished. Filling in just a little bit of the white space. I'll go back with my red and I will do the same thing. And in your sketchbook, you can set this up the same way I have with 3 different rectangles, okay? Labeling each technique underneath. I put my name at the top of this. All right. The next technique I'm gonna show you is blending. Blending is what you're probably used to when you've used oil pastels. For this technique, I'm gonna use a yellow, kind of a yellow-green, and a green, okay? So I'm looking at colors that are analogous to each other on the color wheel, which means next to each other. So when you're blending colors, this is where you're not really leaving any white space behind. This is a technique that we're going to be using in the mountains and trees of our projects. And I'm kind of lightening my pressure just a little bit towards the middle of this square. I'm going to move kind of diagonal. The next color I'm going to use is my light green, my yellow green. And again, I'm using light pressure where those colors overlap. It doesn't look that great yet, but I'm gonna go back with my yellow and even it out. Trying to fill up some of that white space. It's kind of like you're just putting a base layer down, then you can go back and touch it up. The last color I'm gonna use is my actual regular green. It's really vibrant. And if I wanted to make this even darker, I could go in with some blues. That would look really pretty. All right, so now I'm gonna go back with my lighter green and I'm gonna kind of fill in any white space so it blends. Using light pressure where the 2 colors meet. I'm not really pressing down. If you start to press down too much, you can leave outlines that you don't want. And then I will go in with my yellow, and that will be the last color that I blend with. So it kind of merges all those colors together and it looks really beautiful. Creates what we call a gradient going from lighter to darker. I'll use a little more green in here. All right, so that is our blending technique. The final technique that we're gonna be using, and this is gonna be in the land or the foreground part of our project, is hatching. For that part of our technique sheet, I'm going to be using different types of blues and purples. And you can use whatever colors you want. I'm just trying to use a variety of colors to show you what works well together. So hatching is really just a series of small lines, small marks that are all going in the same direction. So I'm going to kind of fill up this space with some of my dark blue. Do the same thing with my violet. And I'm drawing these lines diagonal right now, but you could draw them horizontally. You could draw them vertically. As long as they're all going in the same direction, it counts as hatching. Hatch marks are really great for creating texture for grass, which is why we're going to be using it in our project for the grass, for the field. So I'm going to fill this space in. I'm going to kind of try to go in and get some of that white space around the border filled in. Use some of my light purple. And maybe I'll go in with a really dark blue. So you're trying to overlap these. You're not trying to scribble back and forth. You're really trying to lift your oil pastel between colors. I'm just going to outline this. And there you have it. That's your final technique. These are the 3 techniques that we will be using in our project: our sky, our land, and our field, our meadow. All right. You're going to make one of these. You're going to submit a picture on Schoology. I look forward to seeing your work.